Thank you. Hello everybody, my name's Gina. I'm one of the Education Guidance Advisors from the Gateway Unit, and we give advice and guidance to those who are thinking of studying at university. Today's session is our top tips on how to survive being a mature student. Today I've got two fellow students with me. They will briefly say hello to you, and then later on in the session today, they will give their story about how they come through to higher education. So I have with me today Jeff. Jeff, would you like to pop yourself off mute and say hello?
Certainly. My name's Jeff Thompson. I'm a third-year cybersecurity student at the University of Wolverhampton.
Thank you, Jeff. Alison, would you like to pop yourself off mute and say hello for me?
Hello everyone, I'm Alison Etches and I'm a PhD student at the University of Wolverhampton doing a PhD in education.
I'm Gina, as I said. I've also been a student at the university, and I was an undergraduate student, and I've also been a postgraduate student as well. So today we're going to talk about what it's like to be a mature student. So I'm now about to share my screen with you, so do bear with me. Oops. Technology is great when it works. Okay, here we go. So the session today, we're going to talk to you about what it's like to be a mature student, and we're also going to give you our top tips. So just a little bit of an icebreaker. I want you to use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, and I'd like you to put into the chat what is the age of the oldest student to graduate from the University of Wolverhampton. And I'd also like you to put into the chat what you think the percentages of students at the University of Wolverhampton are classed as mature. Now, as I'm sharing my screen, Jeff, would you mind looking in the chat for me and telling me what the answers are, please?
Yep, I will do.
Thank you.
So the first one is, I'm guessing they're in their 80s. I think it's about 40% mature students.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Anybody else? No? Okay.
So yeah, we got another one, 55 years and 30%. And the second one is 71 years and 40%.
Okay. Brilliant. Those are actually very good guesses, but actually the answer might surprise you. Okay, the oldest student to graduate at the University of Wolverhampton was 88, and 40% of students at the university is classed as mature. So we class mature as over the age of 25. So when you're thinking of coming to university or starting at university, you might think, I'm an older student. What have I got in common with younger students? Actually, you find that you're not alone because, as I've said, 40% of the students are classed as mature. And many of the things that perhaps you're worried about, your youngest fellow students are going to be worried about those too. And when you come to university, you will have gained life skills that will help you manage your studies and your work-life balance. So the question I'm going to ask you now is, what skills do you think you bring as a student, as a mature student? Would you like to pop those in the chat for me, please? And Alison, would you like to have a look for me this time? See what the answers are? Alison, you're on mute. Thank you.
We've actually got a question as well from Alison Johnson, who says, what subject did the oldest graduate, so the gentleman who was 88 or the lady who was 88, she wants to know what subject did they study?
I believe it was a science degree, but I don't have the exact title of the degree, but it was definitely a science.
Okay, so some of the answers that are appearing as to skills that participants think they would bring as mature students is life experience, that's from Rhiannon. Elodie says experience of life, timekeeping and scheduling, and budgeting, that's a good one.
Brilliant, yes.
Ruth says history and politics. Matthew says diplomatic.
Diplomatic,
We've got some
okay,
lovely
yes.
answers there coming in.
Brilliant, those are some really good answers. So many of you came up with the answers that I came up with. And these were teamwork, working with others, budgeting, negotiation, and juggling multiple aspects of your life. Jeff, is there anything you'd like to add to that at all?
Not really. It's maybe adding. So you've already got deadlines, but yeah, prioritizing your own life, slightly different. But yeah, definitely prioritizing your own life.
Lovely, thank you. Okay. So what is it like to be a student? How did you become a student? Jeff, would you like to spend some minutes and tell us about how you got into university and what your journey's been like?
Certainly. So I'm actually a late starter. So I went straight into work after my A levels. I've worked in IT all my life, basically. However, the last sort of 10, 15 years, only certain parts of the jobs really appealed to me. I really enjoyed, and that was where I was sort of mentoring people, peer mentoring, passing knowledge on, and just that sort of personal interaction and helping people. I've always had a yearning to be a teacher. Unfortunately, because I made the decision when I was 18 to go straight into work, I didn't have a degree, which limited me that I couldn't become a teacher, or made it very difficult. Let's put it that way. So about 6 years ago now, I had a really good job, really well paying. I wasn't particularly happy, but we were comfortable. I made the decision that I wanted to do something worthwhile with my life and go back to university and get a degree in a subject I found interesting, and applied to become a teacher. So I gave that work. Obviously, I've got I've got a young family at home, and we discussed it. We discussed what it would be like for us, and I made the decision to give out work, go back to university. So my university life itself has been superb, is the easiest word for it. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. Even the pandemic, hasn't really affected my enjoyment. As a more mature student, my scores have been well up there. In that fact, I'm extremely proud to say one of my scores was 99% in one of my modules.
Well done.
But that's purely because I enjoyed it so much. I found all the skills I brought from my work life, such as meeting deadlines, prioritizing my own work life, budgeting, everything like that has helped me in such good stead. It's really, really useful. And I found the transition from work into university life, I won't say easy, but a lot easier than I thought it would be, because of all those life skills I've got. So looking onwards, I'm hoping on Monday I'll find out I've got my first class. Fingers crossed. And then next year I'm doing my PGCE and doing a school placement, and then I'm set for the rest of my career, really. So I'm often asked, would I do it again? Yes, I would. A mature student, in my personal opinion, gives you so many advantages because of the life skills you've got and your transferable skills. It's a no-brainer for me, and if I was to do it again, I would definitely do it again, because it has been superb, and I've had no doubts, no worries at all. So the first couple of weeks at university can be a bit nervous, but you'll soon get over that. But I think that's later on this presentation. So that's my life journey. It's if anyone's thinking about doing it, I would definitely recommend it, because it's really, really good.
Thank you, Jeff. Alison, would you like to tell us what it's like being a student and what your journey into higher education has been?
Yes, okay, so my journey through higher education. I'm now 54. My journey through higher education has been a bit stop-starty, in that I did my undergraduate degree in a traditional way when I was 18, a very long time ago. And I did that at the University of Huddersfield. And then I worked, and I worked in industry, and I was in finance and accounting. And then I got to 39 and was very bored, and actually realised that all along I'd really always wanted to be a teacher, but I hadn't had very good careers guidance when I was at university, and I'd sort of drifted into industry, when probably it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So it was a little bit similar to Jeff, in that I sort of had to sit with my husband and say, okay, so to do your PGCE is obviously 1 full year with, well, at the time there was no work-based option of doing teacher training. It was a PGCE, 1 year, full time. So that means no salary, and also losing a company car. So we had to sort of sit and have a conversation. Can we afford to take that hit, in order that I could do 1 year at university and do my PGCE? So at age 39, I did my teacher training. And then I've worked as a teacher ever since then. So Jeff, if your experience in teaching is like mine, you will love it. And anyone today who's interested in teaching as a career, I've been so happy and had so much fun in my teaching career, and it is so rewarding. So I definitely encourage you to do that. So I then worked as a teacher, and at the back of my mind, I'd always thought I'd really like to do a PhD, but I didn't think I could do a PhD because I hadn't got a master's. However, through some contacts that I have with, it was actually with Nottingham Trent University, because I live in the East Midlands, it just came out in conversation one day, and they said to me, oh, if you've got a first or a 2-1, there are universities that as a mature student will take you on a PhD without a master's because you've got your teaching qualification. So they said, if you do some research, you can find out which universities will actually take you as a PhD applicant with just the PGCE qualification. So I did my research and found actually, yeah, within the Midlands, there's probably about 12 or 15 universities that would take you as a PhD without a master's, one of which was Wolverhampton. And I did probably what you guys are doing now, but I actually was able, because we didn't have a pandemic, I was able to go to open days. And I had some very strange experiences with 2 or 3 universities. And then I hooked up with the University of Wolverhampton, and as soon as I met people at Wolverhampton, everybody was so welcoming and so positive, and they really encouraged me with my ideas for research, and they were so positive that it just felt like that was going to be the right university to study with. So I found a guy in the Faculty of Education, Health and Wellbeing, who was interested in being my supervisor. So he helped me sort of refine my application, and I submitted my application, and that's how my sort of journey started. So in effect, I went to university at age 18, I went again at age 39, and I went again at age sort of 52. So none of us as mature students come into this with a kind of set pathway. I think what's important to remember is it doesn't matter where you're coming from to the University of Wolverhampton. The university, you will find, is so welcoming and so inclusive. And for me, that out of all I shortlisted 4 universities to do my PhD with, but Wolverhampton was outstanding in terms of being inclusive, and not making me feel anxious about the fact that I was somebody in my 50s who was doing a PhD.
It's a great story. Thank you, Alison. I'll tell you briefly about my story. I left school at the age of 16, and I began working with the West Midlands Ambulance Service, and I did my BTEC as a day release in my early 20s. And at that point, I thought, I'll take a couple of years and then maybe do a degree. And couple of years became 20 years. And then eventually, I felt there was a bit of unfinished business, and I enrolled on a business management degree, online learning, because at that point I had children and I couldn't slog onto the campus in the evenings as I was on my own in the evenings with the children. When I was completing my degree, I was beginning to think about changing direction, but I still carried on with doing my degree. But I also completed a careers qualification whilst I was doing that. And then when I finished my degree, I got a role as a careers officer at a college. And then I decided I was going to leave work and I was going to do my master's in career development and management. So I became a full-time student. I went from having a salary to living on a master's loan. And so that was quite interesting. Because my course was very intensive, I was not able to work part-time. So for a year, I was living on a student loan. So that's been my journey. When I joined, I didn't feel any different to any other students, particularly within my master's course. We were a range of ages, and I didn't feel any different from them. However, I did become a bit of the font of knowledge about careers because I'd worked as a careers officer, whereas some of my course mates, they hadn't worked in a careers environment before. So they were very interested to hear what my experiences were. So now moving on, we're going to talk about our top tips on how to survive the first year. Now, the first year is always a bit overwhelming. It's normal. Everybody feels it. I certainly felt it in my undergraduate degree, and I felt it in my postgraduate degree as well. So here are some of my top tips to organise your notes. Have a folder for each module with dividers between each lecture notes, which was really useful in the beginning, but then I was finding I was running out of folders and running out of room. So then I decided to get with technology, and I started using a lecture notes app on Android. And also I borrowed one of the kids' iPads occasionally, as I do. And I use the Note Shelf app for electronic storage of my lecture notes. So it meant I didn't have piles of folders in the corner of my bedroom. Jeff, what's your top tips for your notes? Jeff, sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah, you definitely need to be organized. I mean, one of the things I did first of all is I use Office 365, so I actually use OneNote. So if you don't like typing away, one of the new features on it is actually it accepts dictation. So your lecturer stood at the front, it'll actually record all of his lecture, which might not be too much for some people. What I did is I set up a page for each lecture. So before I knew I was starting, I set up each page in OneNote to say this is lecture 1, lecture 2, lecture 3, and then each sub page was a different lecture, which made it really easy to go back and just, so what did I discuss on this day? When you're doing revising for your exams or your assessments, it just makes it really easy. So we all use different things. I like OneNote just because of the dictation facility on it, but they all work much of a muchness. But definitely get organized and organize your notes. It's invaluable, really.
Alison, any of your top tips at all? You've
Yeah.
been a teacher, so you can give us your tips.
Well, actually, I was just thinking, you see, what Jeff's just said, I didn't realise OneNote could do that. But what it did make me think, Jeff, was all our students, and that was one thing I found, obviously, when you enrol at the university, you get, through the university, you get access to Office 365 on, I can't remember how many devices, I think, Jeff, you might know.
Yeah, it's five
devices. Yeah. So any of you that are sat there thinking, "Oh God, to buy the software Office 365 or licenses is expensive," don't worry about that, because you get that for free once you enrol with the university. So like Jeff, I use 365 for everything. However, I didn't know OneNote could do that with the dictation thing. But yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. And I suppose I'm a bit of a hybrid between what Gina was saying, in that, yes, you definitely need to stay on top of everything. And it's all down to communication, which I think as mature students, you will find you've got the edge, because I think as mature students, you tend to be more confident people, that if you're going to miss something because you're ill, or say a child's ill, so you have to stay at home to look after them, you've got, if you like, more common sense than some of the very young undergraduates or students, because you will probably get a buddy on the course and WhatsApp them and say, can you email me photographs of your notes that I can catch up? Whereas some of the younger students, because I work with 16 to 19-year-olds, so yeah, trying to get younger students to catch up notes and things is a lot harder work. So I think communication is a big key, and stay on top of your notes, keep them organised. It doesn't matter whether you do them on paper, if you're the sort of person that prefers pen and paper, or if you do it sort of audio and recording wise like Jeff is. Or what I do is I use Word documents, and I have folders set up on my laptop, so all my topic notes are in separate folders for each topic on my screen. The most important thing is, if you're doing it electronically, back it up onto the cloud, regularly, very regularly, so that if my laptop breaks or anything like that, I've got a copy backed up onto my account at the university. You'll all get given an account when you enrol, and that just means you can back up all your notes and all your folders onto the cloud. So if something happens, your laptop's stolen or it breaks, you can just then download everything onto a new device. So you won't have lost all your work.
That was one rookie mistake I made when I was writing.
I think we've all been there, haven't we?
I lost an assignment and I had to rewrite it with 2 weeks to go. I think we've all done that. So yeah, do keep a backup of your notes. So Jeff, would you like to give us some tips about how you manage your study, your family and your work?
Yeah, so I've got two young daughters, both under the age of 10. So obviously during the pandemic, they're all at home. So it was a question of good communication amongst everyone. So this is Daddy's study time. So I actually found a quiet space out in the garden. There's a gazebo out there at the moment to make sure the sun and rain was kept off me. So I went out there when I needed some quiet time. It's all about communication with your family, really. Just saying, this is Daddy's quiet time, 2 hours. But then you come back and you spend some time with them, so they don't feel that they're left alone. The first year's study, because I hadn't been in education for quite a few years, 30 odd years or so, it was overwhelming, or I thought it was going to be overwhelming. I obviously had really good support from home. As soon as I went into university, I realised straight away that we're all there for the same thing. We're all there to get our degree in our chosen subject, and that's what bound us all together. We were there for the same reason. It didn't really matter if someone was 18 or 88, because we were all there for the same reason. So managing the study, managing the family and work, if you got it at the same time, is just about that communication. Make sure you do get some time on your own. Make sure there's somewhere quiet you can do it. But just communicate with everyone so they know what you're doing at any one particular point in time is the best tips I can give.
Lovely. Alison, any tips that you can give?
Yes, I'd agree. It is about communication. It is, you do rely on people to support you through this process. I mean, I'm lucky in that I don't have kids, so I can sympathise with colleagues that and students that have to, you know, juggle kids and work and part-time study. But all I'm thinking is there are students out there, mature students out there, or potential applicants who are lone parents. So you know, you would need the support of family members who perhaps sometimes can babysit the kids for you in order that you can access your learning. You know, you do. But then I guess if you have a job, you probably already have those childcare arrangements. So if you approach your study the same way as you approach a job, that's what I find works for me. So what I do at the moment, because I'm doing a part-time PhD and I've cut my teaching down now from being full-time to part-time. So I try, if I can, and do sort of 2.5 days PhD work during Monday to Friday. And my school work obviously has to be during Monday to Friday. And if I can, I try and keep the weekends free so I can, you know, do things with my husband and my dog. And obviously a bit of marking and stuff like that for school and prep at the weekends. And I think we're all different, but I do treat it like a job, and I try and have specific days because a routine, I think, works for me. And it also, my husband knows what's going on then because it's a routine. So yeah, that's what I would be. Treat it like a job, treat it like a routine, and maybe that's going to be easier.
Mm-hmm. Those are good tips. Some of mine, I have children, so it was gaining help with childcare and family commitments, and it was understanding, you know, this is my time. I need to do this. Find a place to study. Actually, we're all different. We all have our different spaces. It might be in bed. It it might be in the dining room. Personally, mine was always on the sofa. But that was always my spot on the sofa. If I found I needed a really quiet spot to go, sometimes some of my friends who didn't have children, they'd say, "Come to my house. I'll pass you coffee. I'll pass you food. You can study at my house." Also, speak to your line manager if you're working. Can you have some flexi time or annual leave to help you with your study as well? Because that will come in useful as well. When I was writing my undergraduate dissertation, I took 2 weeks off work because I didn't want to be trying to balance work and then trying to submit a dissertation as well. So if you are studying and working at the same time, think about using some of your annual leave around critical times when you're about to submit your assignments. So, looking after yourself, as a student who hadn't been in education for a while, occasionally I will be honest and say I found it overwhelming at times. So, what I used to do, I used to chat with my friends who'd been to university. Help find me cope with university. Sometimes doing some exercise. I have to admit, I took
Jeannie, you're breaking up a bit at the moment.
Yeah, you're breaking up for me as well, but I can
Margot
hear Jeff.
Fontaine, but it doesn't work properly if you're tired. Was my internet unstable there?
It was a bit.
Okay. Sorry about that. So recognise if you need a rest. Sometimes I'd take a break, just mow the lawn, and that would seem to help. But as students, there are self-help resources you can access from the Student Support and Wellbeing Centre at the university. Also, you can access Together All. Now, that's a free 24/7 digital mental health service and wellbeing for our students. Jeff, have you got any top tips? Anything you'd like to add to that as to what you did to relax?
Yes, I mean, all of those are the common sense they need to happen. I mean, one thing I've noticed, if I was stuck on a particular problem, sometimes just moving away from it, going and doing something you enjoy, like going for a run, or just even going for a walk, then come back to it afterwards when your brain's had a bit of a rest. And the number of times I come back and within 5 minutes I've solved the problem because I just needed that time away from what I was doing. So looking after yourself is incredibly important, because if you are poorly, if you're stressed, if you're unwell, you're not going to do your best. So you do need to take time for yourself to relieve the stress, to make yourself feel good. I mean, exercise is always good. I like going for a jog. Well, more of a slow walk. But you do need to do something. You also do need to do rest. So don't stay on something for 9 or 10 hours. Just move away from it, take a break, come back to it. And the self-help resources, I've used them, and they are extremely good, extremely useful. And there's so many people out there wanting to help you. So you need to look after yourself, because it's incredibly important.
And sometimes I found you needed to push it to one side, but the key thing is don't push it down the road too far that you never pick it up. So it's being disciplined and making sure that
Go
you
back
pick
to
it up again after.
Yeah.
Alison, is there anything you'd like to add on that one?
Yeah, I'd agree with what you said there about you've got to keep it in balance. So don't be a workaholic and let it rule your life, but equally don't sort of put it on the back burner and then it just festers away in the background, getting worse and worse and worse. And I would say, if you, for example, like, stuff happens in our lives, all sorts of things happen that could be quite serious, quite a major setback. You may have a family bereavement or something like that. The important thing to do is talk to your tutors and let them know, or if you need some kind of flexibility because you're dealing with something, then tell them, because if you don't tell them that something's happened, they're none the wiser. So they will just expect you to get things done when you say you'll get them done and that kind of thing. So I would urge you, any issues you've got that you think might cause a delay with your work or might cause you to miss a lecture or something that's out of the ordinary, you will find the tutors at the university are really approachable, and they understand that your lives are complicated like theirs are, and they will listen to you, and you will find the university is very flexible and very accommodating. So don't feel afraid. I got something happen with my research project about 8 to 9 months ago, and I felt like, the direction of it's changing, and I was sort of thinking, oh God, how am I going to tell my supervisor? What will he say when I say, actually, I'm going to change this and do that? And in the end, I thought, well, I'm just going to tell him. And when I told him, he was like, yep, that's fair enough. He said, you've changed something, but you've explained to me a rational reason on your project why you're changing it. So he said, I'm fine with that change. So now I know I can do that very easily, but I think because I hadn't done it before, it's like everything. The first time you do it, it's a bit sort of daunting, but actually don't feel you can't talk to your tutors or your supervisor if you're thinking of coming to us to a postgraduate course. Don't ever feel like that.
Lovely, thank you. So, Jeff, I know this one's your favourite bugbear. Attendance.
Yeah, so as part of the university, I'm a school rep and also course rep, so I look after all the students in maths and computer science. A number of times I have people come up to me and say, I'm not very happy, I'm going to fail my exams. Well, did you attend your lectures? No, I didn't know how to. Well, if you don't attend your lectures, how are you going to pick up the theory that helps you pass your, didn't realise that. So it is vital that you attend your lectures. Now, I do know that, sickness and illness and kids and anything could crop up. So if you can attend your lectures, do, because it will help you progress your course, because it gives you the theory. If you can't attend it for whatever reason, and there are numerous genuine reasons out there, just let your tutor know or let your module lead know. And I can guarantee, as Alison already said, all the academic staff there are there for one reason, to help you get the best possible result possible, and they will move heaven and earth short of giving the answer, which you shouldn't do, to help you succeed. And they really are there. So advisors, personal tutors, student advisors, course reps, school reps, yeah, they'll all be there to help you, but you do need to attend the lectures. Moving on from that, if you can't attend your lectures, generally, I know on undergraduate, all the lectures are recorded. So all you got to do is explain to your tutor, I couldn't attend today's lecture because of X, Y, Z. However, I will catch up and I'll have a look at the lecture overnight. And if I've got any questions, is it okay if I let you know? And they're always more than open to do that. As I said, they are really, really helpful.
Brilliant. So one of the other things that's available to you is support networks within the university, and these can include academic skills workshops in the Learning Centre. Now, you could be coming to university after a long break. These skills workshops will give you help and support on how to write an essay, exam tips, referencing. These skills are what you may not have picked up at college. So do access these. It will help you when you come to write your assignments. Speak to your personal tutors. They are a wealth of information. They can signpost you to support services within the university. Talk to your student advisors. Now, your student advisors are there if you're finding you're having issues with your programme and perhaps you're needing to take a leave of absence, or perhaps you are needing an extension or extenuating circumstances. Go and speak to them. They're very, very helpful people. Also, the Maths Support Centre. Some of you may be coming to university and not touched algebra since you left school at 16. I was one of them. They're really, really good to access. They're non-judgmental. They'll help you through those equations that you've got. Also within the Student Support and Wellbeing Centre, you've got counselling, you've got Students' Union, they've got advice and guidance unit there that can help you. Also your academic coaches, they will also help you with content that you may be struggling with in your modules as well. Jeff, is there anything you'd like to add on that one at all?
No, just to, there are also, there's at least 2 course reps for every course, and every year there's also school reps. So those are all really, really good. But if you just got a little bit of a niggle, your course reps and school reps are more than willing to take that on board and escalate it up the chain if there's something not quite right. Apart from that, no, that's all spot on.
Okay, lovely. So Jeff, if you could just chat about the support networks that students may have that are not general university support structures.
Yeah, so I'm a course rep and a school rep. So if you're finding, if the entire class is finding that, I don't know, Big Blue Button, which is one of the online services we use, isn't working for your course because, I don't know, the lettering isn't right, you can bring that to your course rep or school rep, and we can escalate it to the academic staff and say, look, Big Blue Button isn't working. Can we try Microsoft Teams as an example? We take on that feedback and we escalate it up the chain to try and make your student experience the very best possible student experience there is. Nothing is perfect in life. So if you do have niggles, we're there for you. Also, another vital one is students on different levels. So when I was in my second year, I made friends with a couple of people in the third year because I wanted to get a bit of a heads up on what the third year was like, the dissertation, what have you. They can offer invaluable tips just to get you a bit prepared. And the last one, which is vital, is never feel lonely. Get involved with student life as much or as little as you like. That's fine. One thing I would say is don't feel that you're on your own. There are so many people around you to support you, whether it's fellow students, whether it's academic staff, or any of the services we've seen earlier. You would never be alone. Everyone at the University of Wolverhampton is there for one thing, to make you the best possible you, to get you the best possible result, and to make your experience as part of the university the best possible experience. So you will never be on your own. Use those services because they are really good. They're never judgmental. yeah, they will just try and help you to the best of their ability.
Alison, is there anything you'd like to add on that slide?
Yeah, I mean, like Jeff says, the informal networks. So one of the ways you can perhaps access those really easily is there's a large selection of clubs and societies at the university. So no matter probably what your interest is, there will be a club or society that caters for you. In particular, if you're into sport or athletics or swimming, I know certainly I'm not so familiar with the city campus because education's based at the Walsall campus, but at the Walsall campus they have got fantastic gym and athletics track and sports facilities there. So if you're into sports, there's lots of sports and sports teams and clubs you can get involved with. And that's a great way of mixing with people, not only on different year groups, like Jeff's saying, but also people from different courses. Because sometimes if you're like me, because I'm also not a brilliant mathsy person, but actually by becoming friends with someone who is very mathsy, I know if I get stuck on something with statistics, I've got someone I can ask for help and they can explain it to me in perhaps plain English. So as well as being social or good for your physical health or social life or mental health, then joining the clubs and societies is also a way you can meet someone who becomes a friend, but also can perhaps offer you a skill set that you need to help you, and equally you might have a skill set that you can help another person with. So those informal networks can actually be really, really powerful.
Thank you. What I found on my course is that we set up a WhatsApp group, and we used it when we were having, if we didn't quite understand something, and we still keep that WhatsApp group going now, and we have a chat about anything in life that we catch up. So those networks can keep going long after you've graduated. So here's the summary before we open up to any questions. Your first year of study may seem overwhelming, but however, with a bit of planning and a little bit of organisation, you can still study and still do the things that you normally enjoy. And the key things are organise your family, organise your notes, look after yourself, and attend your lectures and don't fall behind. And also recognise early on when you need help and take action. Don't let it fester. A problem shared is a problem halved. And finally, the students of all ages, you bring something to the table as a mature student, and you're not alone, and you will have a lot of things in common with your fellow students. So I'm now going to stop sharing the presentation, and I'm now going to open up the session now to any questions that you might want to ask us.
We haven't got any questions at the moment, but if people want to type any questions in, feel free. We've got about 10 minutes left of the session, so if you do want to type in your questions, then we'll do our best to answer them. In answer to the question that came in earlier about the degree from the 88-year-old, it was history and politics.
I think I was thinking of the science one, which is about 83.
About 83 who did a science one, but the 88-year-old was history and politics. And he did it part-time.
Oh, wow.
6 years. So, yeah.
Any questions?
We haven't got any questions at the moment. Just give people another couple of minutes and then we can...
if anybody has got any questions that they don't want to ask us in an open forum, they can send us an email to the Gateway team, and we're happy to answer them. I'll put our email address into the chat box.
So we've got a couple of questions coming in now.
Yeah, somebody's
Okay.
just said what happens in a placement year.
Yeah.
Another person put is now starting again.
Okay, within a placement year, that is usually a gap year if you're studying an undergraduate degree. between your second and your third year. And some students, not all, go out and work in industry for a year. We recommend that students look for a paid placement year. You will get some funding for the placement year, and this is where, Ruth, if you could let me know what funding they would get for a placement year.
Sure. Yep. So if you're doing a paid placement in a private company, then you basically get a salary. You can actually apply for a reduced rate of student loan as well. It's not your full student finance, but it's a bit extra to tide you over. If you're doing an unpaid placement in a public sector, so NHS, the council, some charities, then you can apply for your normal student finance, but you can't do an unpaid placement in a private company, because then the government would be subsidising the company and they don't want to do that. So it depends on, obviously, if you're doing business or one of the sciences, you can probably get a paid placement. If you're looking to go into maybe environmental health or social work or something like that, and you're looking to gain experience in the public sector, then you can get your normal student finance. And there's a reduced fee for that year, which is £1,200, and you can get your tuition fee loan for that year as well. So you basically get an extra year on top of your standard 3 years.
And we usually, sorry, Ruth.
Question, but finish off with that one, that's fine.
We usually find that those that have been out on a placement year come back, and they tend to get a higher grade classification as well. They tend to be more switched on. Occasionally we find that as well, the employers that have taken them on that placement year will also ask that student whether they would like to take a paid role with them once they graduate, or even pay some of their tuition fees during the last year. We have come across that. I've noticed that Elodie's asked a question, which is further up in the chat.
Yep. So sorry, do you want me to read it out?
I've got it. I've picked it up.
Okay.
Have I got any advice for a student who's attended previously but had to leave due to family circumstances? Elodie, if you're thinking of returning to a similar course, okay, to the one that you may have left, what you can do is, it depends how long that gap was, okay, but you can apply through UCAS and ask for your previous study to be taken into consideration, and you may be given advanced entry onto the degree. I will put a bit of a rider on that one. It depends how many credits that you've passed and at what levels. So it is a case of putting in an application and providing any transcripts that you may have. If you're thinking of switching degrees, again, there can be funding issues with that one, because depending on what course you go back on, you may not get funding for the lower levels. It really does depend on your circumstances, what you're thinking of applying for as well. Elodie, if you want to email Gateway at WLV, if it's your personal circumstances, we're happy to give you full advice out of the public domain. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. So I've just seen placements jobs being advertised through the workplace, which makes it easier for students to find placements. Am I right?
Yes, that's a good place to look for student placements. I would tend to recommend that students go there, because generally the staff in the workplace have done a little bit of research on those companies that are advertising for student placements. So there's probably a high level of confidence in those placements rather than looking elsewhere. There's nothing to stop you looking elsewhere, but I would definitely recommend going to the workplace.
Okay, Elodie's just come back with, I'm returning to the same course, so the degree content has changed. I've been awarded personal and compelling reasons to begin again. I'm more nervous to start over and have to make new friends as everybody she knew has graduated and the SU staff had changed. So I think rather than practical issues, it's more psychological support. So yeah, if you want to email us a bit more detail, we can certainly pick that up. Maybe set up a one-to-one appointment with you, with Gina, so she can have a chat over the phone or Zoom on a one-to-one basis and just reassure you on all of that. So yeah, I would definitely say email gateway@wlv.ac.uk, and we can have a proper chat with you in a private setting and hopefully reassure you and sort you out. So yeah, definitely contact us. I think that's everybody. We still have about 4 minutes left. So if people do have more questions, please just type them in. Otherwise, we can call it a day.
Shall we? I think we shall give them the gift of time, shall we?
4 whole minutes.
And we shall let you go for today. Save you hanging on. But thank you for attending the session. And if you've got any queries, please forward them to us at the gateway at wlv.ac.uk. Whatever it is, we've usually come across it before. So don't worry about that. So I'd like to thank to my fellow students, Alison and Jeff. Thank you for your help today. And I'd now like to hand over to the conversion team to end the session.